mademu wako simpo. Taka kugonga lazima uwe na kamshiko. Wanauza vocha za Voda na Tigo. Oh, my bongo movie baby. Unataka gari kila best day, yeah.
This is the Joyride with the Rainbow Goddess, the Rainbow Goddess. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode of Joyride with the Rainbow Goddess. Today is my very first episode of season 2, all about traveling. Hell yeah! In this episode, I'm going to share with you 5 essential tips when traveling to Mexico, and the very 2 first tips are actually applicable to any of your travels. So let's get to it. Tip number 1, know your luggage allowance. Man, I cannot tell you how weirdly specific airlines are getting about the luggage allowance. It's mostly because they're trying to put out like cheaper airfare, so you really have to pay close attention to each airline, and not just to each airline but to the type of ticket that you got, because it is specific to the ticket a lot of times. I've gotten in a lot of trouble for not knowing exactly what my allowance is. And I'm going to go into a short little story about a little trouble I got in Mexico.
I brought my backpacking backpack, which I know generally it's allowed, the size is allowed for carry-on. And we were bringing a tripod, which was like a little bit taller than the size I thought for the backpack, but it was maybe like a couple inches. I thought I could get away with it, I'm sure. No, we did not get away with it, and they made us leave it. Thank goodness it was just like a $20-something tripod, so not like a huge loss, but it's like sad. Now we don't have it, and now the camera's sitting on 2 tables, and we're gonna have to buy another one.
Here's our tripod for the day. Yeah.
You got me too.
Once it is clear how much you are allowed to take on the plane, write it down and have a scale with you so that when you're packing, you can actually weigh it properly and you don't find yourself at the airport having it weighed, going over, and then throwing stuff on to try to make it. Tip number 2, know exactly which airport you're going to, look up the directions ahead of time, and then at least double the time to actually get there. You need so much extra time. You never know what's gonna happen either on the road there or at the airport, so give yourself way more time than you think is necessary. Here's a little story about what happened to us in this trip.
So it took us about 4 hours, over 4 hours, to get from LA to San Diego.
Which is like, yeah, like more than twice, or about
generally
twice.
like 2.5 hours.
Yeah.
We figured probably 3.5 at the most. Yeah, that's the hour buffer.
Yeah.
And yeah, it took us well over 4 hours to get all the way down. So we're feeling stressed the entire drive.
Yeah, even
Worried,
though...
are we gonna make it? Are we not gonna make it? We did it also, the plan was to save money by flying from TJ, but we ended up having to pay to leave our van parked at the border.
That was not the plan. We're obviously gonna leave it at my sister's house.
Right. So that's an additional cost.
Mm-hmm.
And
And
that's the only
then...
real additional cost.
Yeah, that's
But
true.
the stress was not enjoyable.
Yeah.
We made it to Mexico.
Tip number 3, it is so important to know about the kinds of visas you need when going into a new country. For Mexico, you do your visa at the airport and it's $36. When you're a budget traveler like me, it's important to know where your money's going. Tip number 4, save yourself some money. If you're traveling from Southern California, it is a lot of times way cheaper to travel from Tijuana Airport, and you can actually get to the airport from the US. It's called Cross-Border Express. It's a bridge that goes from the US into Tijuana Airport. You can take an Uber there, or there is long-term, pretty cheap and safe parking around that area. And that bridge is $30 round trip. Just make sure to take a picture of your ticket so that when you come back, you have no trouble getting through. The best airlines for cheap airfare from Tijuana is Volaris. That's my number 1 choice because they have discounts all the time. But it's also good to check Aeromexico. Sometimes the deals can be quite competitive. Tip number 5, when arriving late to Mexico and hungry, it is important not to go straight into the streets looking for food. It can be dangerous. So what we did was order from Uber Eats.
Uber Eats is amazing out here.
Okay.
And very cheap.
Yeah.
There's food available late night, and just like with anywhere else, you might not find it with under vegan restaurants, but just look into the menus and you'll see that a lot of taco shops or Mediterranean restaurants will have some vegan vegetarian options, not labeled as so though. I only said Mediterranean because like that's what we ended up ordering, and what we ordered was pretty yummy.
So my little mishap story with that subject of not going straight into the streets. One of the times that I went out with friends to Mexico, we got there late night and we were super hungry, and I don't know if we like didn't know that Uber Eats existed or maybe it just wasn't a thing then, but we called an Uber and we had it drive us around to find something vegan to eat. Well, we ended up going into this building that I guess normally has like a lot of booths, and actually there was a couple that seemed open, but there was a lot of sketchy activity happening then. At one point there was like a guy that had like his pants down and like his ass was just so dirty, and I don't know if he was like drugged out or what, but it was creepy as hell. I like ran back into the Uber. So yeah, lesson here is, I know it's super exciting, you get to a new country, you just want to go out there, or at least that's what I've always wanted to do. But I've definitely learned that it is so important to take those extra measures to keep yourself safe.
For next week's episode, I'm going to review 5 restaurants in Mexico City, and I will also share with you where you can eat if it's late night and a ton of places are closed. See you then! Salud! Well, I hope you enjoyed this video and that you learned some very helpful tips, and I hope you have a wonderful, healthy, and happy day.